Okay, so today we're gonna discuss solid waste management and solid waste management hierarchies. So we'll be focusing our discussion on definition of solid waste and its effects and solid waste management hierarchy and its elements. So first, we're gonna discuss the definition of solid waste and its effects. So first off, what are wastes? So wastes are substances or objects which are disposed of or are intended to be disposed of or are required to be disposed of by the provisions of the law. So anything that we want to get rid of, any substance or object that we want to um, throw away, and even those substances that are required to be disposed of by the law. So there are actually several laws that govern solid waste management. So we'll be tackling that in our next topics. All right. So there are four basic classification of waste. So earlier this sem we discussed about the solid municipality waste. Um, that was different. So this is basically or generally classification of just waste. So not only solid municipal waste, but wastes in general. So we have biodegradable, recyclable, non-biodegradable, or residual, and we have special or hazardous waste. So biodegradable waste so includes any organic matter in waste, any organic matter in waste which can be broken down into carbon dioxide, water, methane, or simple organic molecules by microorganisms and other living things by composting, anaerobic digestion, or similar processes. Alright, so biodegradable wastes um, basically include food scraps and um, human wastes and animal wastes. Those are biodegradable wastes. All right. Next is we have the recyclable waste. So waste that has been recovered or diverted from the non-hazardous solid waste stream for purpose of reuse, recycling, or reclamation. Okay. So generally, recyclable waste we have plastic cups or um, maybe clothing scraps that have been turned into um, rags. So those are recyclable wastes. So we also have non-biodegradable or residual waste. So um, these are non-hazardous industrial waste. So it could be gas in a form of gas or in the form of liquid. So these are also cannot be decomposed or dissolved by natural agents. So basically, if you don't recycle plastic, it becomes non-biodegradable, right? So as much as possible, we make plastic products that can be recycled. So um, like plastic bags and stuff. So those can be recyclable. We also have special or hazardous wastes. So these are wastes that has substantial or potential threat to the public health or environment. So these are basically wastes that may harm the public health or the environment itself. So there are several um, chemical wastes. We have uh, household materials that are special or hazardous to the environment that needs special, what you call this, special disposal methods. All right. So those are examples of special or hazardous waste. So like I mentioned earlier, so universal hazardous wastes include batteries, fluorescent lamps, pesticides, thermometers, and used oil. So batteries, we know that they contain lithium. So lithium is actually bad for the environment. Also, fluorescent lamps contain mercury vapor. So this is the same thing as thermometer, but the thermometer contains liquid mercury. So mercury is actually also very bad for the environment, as well as it is very hazardous to um, living organisms. Pesticides is also a hazardous waste, and used oil. So used oil, we should dispose of this. There is actually a method of disposal for used oil, so you don't dispose it anywhere because it is also bad for the environment. All right. So now we go to the effects of solid waste.
Isa, dalawa, tatlo. Bilangin natin ang problema sa basura ng mundo. 1. 1 million plastic bags ang ginagamit natin kada minuto. 2. 2.7 million tons ng plastic waste ang galing sa Pilipinas taon-taon. Katumbas ito ng higit 6 million kilograms ng basura araw-araw. 3. Third largest plastic waste producer ang Pilipinas sa buong mundo. Kasunod ang China at Indonesia. 4. 4 plastic bottles kasama ng 115 plastic cups at 25 plastic bags ang nakita sa loob ng bituka ng patay na sperm whale na natagpuan sa Indonesia. At sa Pilipinas, yan din ang sinapit ng whale shark na puro basurang plastic ang natagpuan sa tiyan. 5. 5% lang ng mga plastic ang nare-recycle natin. Dahil yan sa hindi wastong pagtapon o paghiwalay ng mga nabubulok at di nabubulok na basura at pagtatambak lang nito kung saan-saan. Pag nagpatuloy pa ito ayon sa UN report, posibleng maging mas marami pa ang basura kaysa sa mga isda pagpatak ng taong 2050. U for unlimited. Unlimited ang paraan para maayos natin ang problema sa basura. Tulad na lang ng wais na Mrs. Walastik dito sa Barangay Manggahan. Si Mrs. Merlita, 10 taon nang pinapatupad sa kanyang tahanan ang proper waste segregation.
Ito pong mga plastic na to, tinatabi namin, sinesegregate po na. Una, sinasabi ko sa mga anak ko na pagbukod-bukurin yung mga bottle at saka yung mga plastic na pwedeng itabi. Mga plastic na matulad ng mga shampoo, mga pinagamitan ng toothpaste, sineseparate.
Kaya po nung tinuruan niya kaming mag-segregate, sinusunod naman po namin. Tapos hanggang sa nasanay na po kami kasi may separate plastics naman para doon sa mga basura.
Kasi po, buwan-buwan po kinokolekta po to sa aming barangay at pinapalitan naman nila ng mga sabon na panggamit sa loob ng bahay na nakakameno sa mga misis.
Thank you!
Malaking tulong yun sa amin kasi hindi na po kami bumibili mga sabon, panlaba. Nakakalibre na kami dahil sa mga plastic na mga inipon namin. Malaking tulong po sa amin, sa budget namin.
Aba, mukhang hindi lang pala si Mrs. Merlita ang Mrs. Walastik sa Barangay Manggahan. Tingnan nyo, marami pala sila.
Meron tayong programa na tawag Collect, Kilo, Kita. Collect para kolektahin nila yung mga plastic waste. Kilo, punta sila sa mga barangay nila, kinikilo to. Sa bawat isang kilo ng plastic sachet, pwede nila i-convert ito into 10 pesos worth of our product. Objective po ng Zero Waste Erasure Program ay turuan ang ating mga household on the value of plastic para mas-segregate nila ito at para hindi ito pumunta sa mga maling lugar. Ayaw natin na ang plastic natin ay makakapinsala sa ating kapaligiran.
Yung iba iniipon po talaga namin kasi tinuruan din kami sa school na mag-segregate. Ngayong December, tagulan na naman na maiwasan ang pagbabasa na piko.
Saya po kami kasi na yung basura namin, naiipon na, walang basura sa daan. Tapos, nakakatipid may sabon na kami.
At sa tulong ng mga wais na misis, nakakolekta ng halos 4,000 kilo ng plastic waste sa Barangay Manggahan. Pero saan kaya dadali ng mga nakolektang kilo-kilong sachet na ito? Sa tambakan ng basura? Hindi. Dinadala mga plastic sachet sa recycling facility na ito para mapakinabangan muli.
Mga soft plastics katulad ng mga plastic bags, mga candy wrappers, plastic straw, mga first packaging materials.
Pinagbubukod-bukod ang mga soft plastic materials, saka isasalang sa shredder bago linisin at patuyuin. Saka dadalhin sa extruding machine.
Yun na yung to the point na tutunawin natin yung plastic without chemicals talaga yon. Wala kaming hinahalo. Talagang melting lang siya.
Pero ano kaya ang pwedeng mabuo sa mga plastic na basura? May isip mo bang pwede pala itong gawing mga upuan? At ang bawat isang upuan na ito ay gawa sa 24,000 small sachet na tinatapon ninyo. Ngayong alam nyo na kung anong pwedeng gawin sa plastic na basura, ano pang iniintay nyo? Hinabangan na yan, kaysa magdulot pa ng pinsala sa ating kalikasan.
All right. So that was in the Philippines, no? So what they did with solid wastes is that they actually made school chairs out of melting soft plastics. So these are one of the solid waste management or solid waste ways to mitigate solid waste pollution. So that was in the Philippines. So if we know there sa Pilipinas daghan jud kaayo og plastic pollution. So like in the video said, we are the third third country to produce a lot of solid waste. Right. So how about in a larger scale? So do we know about the Great Pacific garbage patch? So let's take a look at this video.
What weighs more than 43,000 cars and is over 2 times the size of Texas? The largest garbage dump on Earth, the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. Also known as the Pacific Trash Vortex, this collection of ocean-faring garbage weighs more than 87,000 tons and consists of 1.8 trillion pieces of plastic. Located in the eastern Pacific Ocean between the states of Hawaii and California, this garbage accumulation zone is actually one of 6 garbage concentrations throughout the world's oceans, formed from rotating ocean currents known as gyres. These gyres are systems of circular ocean currents formed by the Earth's wind patterns and forces from the rotation of the Earth. The other 5 garbage patches located in the North Atlantic, South Atlantic, Indian Ocean, West Pacific, and South Pacific are equally problematic. Because these garbage patches are so far from any one country's coastline, any one nation is unlikely to take on the responsibility of cleaning this garbage up on its own. It is estimated today that roughly 1.2 to 2.4 million tons of plastic is entering the ocean each year, which is the equivalent of 100,000 garbage trucks dumping their trash into the ocean. Most of this plastic is less dense than water, meaning that it will not sink once it encounters the sea. These plastics are then transported out to sea by converging ocean currents before finally accumulating in one of the garbage patches. The Great Pacific Garbage Patch covers an estimated surface area of roughly 1.6 million square kilometers, which, as mentioned before, equates to an area roughly 2 times the size of Texas. The latest sampling estimates that the patch contains 1.8 trillion pieces of plastic, or about 250 pieces for every human on Earth. The garbage patch contains a variety of plastics in all shapes and sizes, including plastic lighters, toothbrushes, water bottles, pens, baby bottles, cell phones, plastic bags, and more. Additionally, lost fishing nets and other fishing gear make up a substantial portion of the total plastic count, entangling and endangering whales, turtles, fish, and damaging coral reefs. Just this past year, during a 25-day cleanup expedition, roughly 40 tons of abandoned fishing nets were retrieved from the patch in an effort to safeguard marine life. The most troubling aspect of the Great Pacific Garbage Patch is what is known as microplastics. Over time, larger plastic objects deteriorate from exposure to the sun, waves, and marine life. What's worse is that due to its size and color, marine life often confuses plastic with food, causing major damage to their own health. Many times, these plastics will fill up the animals' stomachs, causing them not to eat and die from malnutrition. As an example, sea turtles caught in nearby fisheries operating within or around the Great Pacific Garbage Patch have seen up to 74% of their diets composed entirely of plastic. Once these microplastics enter the marine food web, there is also a good possibility that it will contaminate the human food chain as well. Through a process called bioaccumulation, chemicals and plastics will enter the body of the animals feeding on the plastic. As the feeder becomes prey, the chemicals pass to the predator, eventually making their way all the way up the food web and potentially into human beings. Microplastics have been found in all stages of the food chain, starting with phytoplankton, zooplankton, crustaceans, smaller fish, and larger fish. These larger fish, such as pollock, tuna, cod, and salmon, are then caught by fishermen before appearing on a dinner plate near you. Scientists have yet to determine exactly how to quantify this damage and exactly what the impact will be on human health over the long term. It may not be possible to entirely rid the world of ocean garbage patches. Some of the plastic material will take an extremely long time to break down and degrade in the environment, while other materials may never fully go away. We do know, however, that if nothing is done, the location and sizes of these garbage patches are likely to increase in size and likely continue to have adverse effects on the environment. One thing we can all do to contribute towards solving the problem is to reduce the use of single-use packaging such as sandwich bags, juice cartons, straws, and excess packaging. These simple decisions will significantly reduce the plastic you accumulate and thus the plastic that ends up in the ocean. On a larger scale, there are several ocean cleanup projects ongoing hoping to rid the world of these ocean garbage patches. One notable effort, known as the Ocean Cleanup Project, is being led by Boyan Slat, a young 24-year-old entrepreneur from the Netherlands. He hopes that by using his ingenious system, we can clean up to 50% of the Great Pacific Garbage Patch within the next 5 years alone. The system consists of a large 600-meter-long flotation device that sits at the surface of the water. This device is then connected to a 3-meter-deep skirt attached in the water below. The floating component provides buoyancy to the system and prevents plastic from flowing over it, while the skirt below stops debris from escaping underneath. As the system is affected by natural ocean forces such as current, wind, and waves, the system will be propelled through the water, capturing plastic along the way. As the accumulation of plastic increases, the system will slowly move to surround the plastic before a garbage boat will come along to remove the collected plastic to be transported back to shore. The system is also designed to be inherently safe for marine life in several different ways. First and foremost, the system will be moving at extremely slow speeds, allowing marine life to swim away and escape without being caught. Secondly, because the screen is impenetrable, ocean currents will flow underneath the screen, guiding with it marine life that cannot actively move, while the plastics that float will remain inside the system. Thirdly, as the screen or skirt is not a net, sea life cannot become entangled like they would a typical fishing net. If a fish comes in contact with the screen, it will simply rub against it as it swims away without becoming trapped. In addition to this, when the plastic is periodically collected, people will be present to check for any marine life before the plastic is lifted out of the water. Efforts like these are slated to make a huge impact on our environment for the better. It is important that we do our part and make cleaning up the oceans a priority over the next few decades. The United Nations has estimated that if nothing is done, the oceans will contain more weight from plastics than fish by the year 2050. Thanks for watching this video. What ways will you help contribute to the cleanup of the ocean garbage patches across the world? Comment below on your ideas and be sure to share, like, and subscribe.
Alright, so that was the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. All right, so it's not only in the Pacific that we have a garbage patch. So we actually have five more others in other places. So the Great Pacific Garbage Patch is the biggest among all those garbage patches. So we know we now know the effect of these garbage in our marine waters. So we have bioaccumulation. So bioaccumulation is basically it's a process of accumulation of chemicals or substances in an organism that takes place if the rate of intake exceeds the rate of excretion. So we know that marine organisms like fish, if they intake small plastics and they cannot excrete that, though it stays in their system. So that's what you call bioaccumulation. All right. So that's um, one of the effects of solid waste pollution.
What weighs
All right, so that was the definition of solid wastes and its effects. Now we move on to the solid waste management hierarchy and its elements. So before we discuss the hierarchy of solid waste management, we should know first the solid waste management system. So first off, we have waste generation. So basically, when we generate waste, when we uh, throw away, dispose of anything that we do not use anymore. So basically, that's the start of the solid waste management system. After that, so at home, we try to segregate or we put them in, we collect at home our solid wastes, and we put them in plastics and they are now ready to be um, collected. So at schools or in public places, uh, solid wastes are generally uh, separated by classification. So we have biodegradable, non-biodegradable, and recyclable. So those belong in the waste handling and separation, storage and processing at source. Now, solid wastes, those wastes are now collected and transferred and transported to basically processing and recovery or disposal. All right. So uh, sometimes it is collected and it goes straight to processing and recovery or disposal. So usually this happens in the industries where they have their own disposal, areas of disposal, and own processing and recovery of their materials. So basically, for example, in Busco, so their waste is actually what you call this bagas. So bagas is the waste that comes from the sugarcane. So they collect that and at the source as well. They process it to feed their boilers. So it is actually fuel to their boilers. So that's one example of going straight to processing and recovery. Also, in disposal, so usually sometimes, for example, in mining industry, so they have wastes that they need to dispose of. So usually those mining companies or mining industries, they also have areas that are dedicated to disposing their wastes. So sometimes also at home or in public places, garbage collectors collect our garbage and goes and transfers it or transports it to disposal or waste management facilities. All right. So solid waste management revolves around waste characterization. So it is actually a process of determining the chemical, biological, and physical characteristics, as well as the quantity, mass flow rates, strengths, or in terms of concentration, and discharge schedule of wastewater stream, air discharge, or solid waste stream. So this solid waste management and solid waste management hierarchy revolves around the waste characterization. Okay. So, for example, in Cagayan de Oro City, so in 2010, the census of population in the city has 602,088 people. So this is still in 2010. So we don't know how many people we are here sa Cagayan de Oro. So in 2010, there is approximately, in 2014, there is actually 13,000 kilograms of solid waste being thrown in the dump site per day. So that is per day, ha. So waste character in waste characterization, so we um, characterize or we group solid waste composition and solid waste contribution. So in this data here, the data shows or suggests that if full diversion is achieved, only 2003 kilograms will be disposed daily in the disposal site. So since we have 68% biodegradable, we have 17% recyclable, we have 14% residual, and 1% special waste. So if we segregate that and properly in the right method, we could achieve a 2003 kilograms of disposal if we segregate properly. So we also have solid waste contribution. So we have public markets, general stores, institutions, households. So as you can see, the household has the biggest number of solid waste contribution. All right. So solid waste composition. So we could characterize solid waste through its physical composition. So uh, like yard and field waste, fines and inerts, wood, food waste, paper and cardboard, and etc. So you look at it physically. All right. So that is solid waste composition or characterization through physical composition. We also have solid waste composition and characterization through chemical composition. So first we have the proximate analysis. So proximate analysis is the determination of ash content, moisture content, volatile matter, and fixed carbon. So proximate analysis. So this is done through basically burning the solid waste. So moisture is lost. Moisture is completely gone at 105 degrees Celsius. Volatile matter can also uh, be gone at 950 degrees Celsius. So ash is the residue after burning and fixed carbon is the remainder. Alright, so that's basically how you do proximate analysis. So moisture at 105 degrees Celsius, volatile matter at 950 degrees Celsius, ash after burning, and fixed carbon as the remaining. Alright? We also have the fusing point of ash. So ash has also has different chemical compounds. In determining the fusing point of ash, that's in temperature, it can also tell about the minerals present in ash. Alright, so that's the purpose of fusing point in ash. So we could actually characterize the minerals present in the ash through determining its fusing point. We also have the ultimate analysis. So it is different from the proximate analysis. So ultimate analysis is the determination of carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, sulfur, and ash. So what is the main difference between proximate analysis and ultimate analysis? So proximate analysis determines the compounds in the solid waste, while ultimate analysis determines the elements present in the solid waste. All right, fourth is we also have heating value. So I think we are familiar with heating value. So heating value is the amount of heat released during combustion of a specified amount. So the unit of this is kilojoules per kilogram. So This also tells you the composition of solid waste as different compounds have different heating values. Alright, so that was the solid waste composition. So we'll be discussing solid waste management hierarchies and its controls on our next meeting. Alright, so we'll have a quiz before our next meeting. Thank you.